Hello, I'm the lead analyst for collegefootballwinning.com, where all we do 365 days a year is focus on college football. Welcome to the 2013 Army-Navy preview. This is a preview of the 114th matchup between arguably the two greatest rivals in all of college football, Army and Navy. Now that you have heard the arguments for why you might want to back the Navy side, we're going to present the arguments for why you might want to back the Army side. While it is true that Army and Navy have played three common opponents this year, Western Kentucky, Hawaii, and Air Force, it is important to put those games into their meaningful context and not just simply look at the straight up wins. First of all, both Army and Navy were 1-2 against the spread versus those common opponents. So against the spread, as far as that is concerned, these two teams were on an equal footing coming out of their three common opponent matchups. Next, Army had to travel to both Air Force across the country to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and to Hawaii, flying in excess of 10 hours, then playing in a game that kicked off at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, so the time it would have been for the cadets had they stayed home in West Point. That game ended close to 3 a.m., so that would be Army time or East Coast time because they were playing in Hawaii, while Navy got to play those two common opponents, Air Force and Hawaii, at home in Annapolis, Maryland. That makes a huge difference in the case of those two common opponents. Now, this game, if we admit that it is most meaningful to the seniors, then we need to look beyond just the projected starters, but to those who are likely to see some playing time in this game, that is, those who are listed on the two-deep depth chart for each team. Navy has 12 seniors listed on their two-deep, and a total number of seniors on the roster is 22. Army has 16 seniors on their two-deep depth chart, and on their roster, they have a total of 42 seniors listed. So Army has more seniors involved in this game. Rather than looking at simple margin of victory, which is what we looked at before when we were talking about Navy, since this is being played on a neutral field in Philadelphia, we might do well to look at how each team has done this season when playing away from their home stadium. Now, away, Navy has scored an average of 31.8 points, while they have allowed an average of 37.3 points scored on them when they're playing in those away games. Army has scored an average of 26.7 points in away games, while they have allowed an average of 38 points scored on them. So what's the differential there? Navy's away scoring differential is minus 5.5, while Army's away scoring differential is minus 11.3. You put that together, that makes Navy just 5.8 points better than Army, which is a good 7 points below the current betting line when you are considering away or neutral site games. Odds makers opened this game with Navy as a 10-point favorite. The betting action has moved the betting line, which means odds makers initially thought that Navy favored by 10 points was just about the right point spread. Now, the betting line has changed 3 points so far. In the past 10 Army-Navy games that have experienced betting line movement from the opening to the closing lines, 6 out of 10 of those games did experience some line movement. In that line movement, it has been wrong 4 out of the 6 times where there has been significant line movement. And the only other time that the line has moved at least 2 points, the line movement or the direction the line had taken, in this case in favor of Navy, was incorrect. So once again, here advantage Army. Well, we at collegefootballwinning.com have 11 years of college football betting data on which to draw. That's more than well over 8,000 college football games. We think it important to judge how these coaches have prepared for each other. So how have they done in the head-to-head matchup when facing each other as head coaches at their respective institutions? Since Rich Ellerson has been head coach at Army, the cadets are 3-1 against the spread when facing Ken Niumatalolo's Navy squad. And just like now, Army was the underdog in all 4 of those matchups, where once again, they won 3 out of 4 matchups against the spread. Army head coach Rich Ellerson himself said, offensively, they, meaning Navy, are a solid football team until you throw in quarterback Keenan Reynolds. And then it becomes scary. That guy's a real difference maker. Now, that's what Rich Ellerson said. Well, after Navy's last football game versus San Jose State, Keenan Reynolds was in a walking boot. So, although it was called precautionary, and he has been practicing with the team, an option quarterback's health is critical. And Keenan Reynolds this season has 1,124 rushing yards, 26 rushing touchdowns. The next best ball carrier on that Naval squad has 373 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Army, on the other hand, so in other words, huge drop off from their top rusher to the number 2 guy. Now, Army, on the other hand, they have 4 ball carriers with more than 373 rushing yards, and again, 4 guys with at least 4 rushing touchdowns. Now, admittedly, one of those guys might not play or will see very limited action, but even with the 3, you still have more options and not nearly as great a drop off from number 1 to number 2 as the one that Navy experiences. More on Keenan Reynolds, the quarterback for Navy. In 2013, this season, Navy has not played a single team with a rushing defense that was ranked in the top 50 as measured by yards per carry allowed versus FBS competition. Now, Army has played 3 teams with a rushing defense that ranks in the top 30. They've played 2 teams with rushing defenses ranking in the top 25, and they've even played 1 top 5 rushing defense in Stanford this year. So the competition that Army has faced when it comes to rushing defense has been better, has been stiffer than the competition that Navy has seen so far this year. While on the subject of the importance of the Navy quarterback Keenan Reynolds, option quarterbacks obviously take quite a beating. Navy lost their backup quarterback for the season, and that has left them with 2 freshmen behind Reynolds at quarterback on this week's depth chart. Now, only one of those freshmen backups has seen any playing time. He got into 1 game and he touched the ball 3 times. Army, on the other hand, not only do they have a more experienced backup quarterback, but in their last game, that backup quarterback led Army's near comeback versus Hawaii, and he threw for 122 yards and ran for 4 rushing touchdowns in about half a football game. He is not only a solid backup, he's also a part of this week's game plan, according to Coach Ellerson. He said that he's going to be using both quarterbacks that both will see playing time. Advantage Army. For the first time in Navy head coach Ken Niumatalolo's 16-year association with this Navy football team, Navy has finals this entire week leading up to the Army-Navy game. Now, that has put added stress on preparing and practicing for Army this week. Army's finals are after this upcoming Army-Navy game. Advantage Army. Now, speaking of schedules, Navy will have had, at the time that this game kicks off Saturday, they will have had more than 3 weeks between their last game against San Jose State and this next Army-Navy game. Since Ken Niumatalolo has been the head coach at Navy, when Navy has had at least 12 days off between games, Navy is just 5-10 straight up and an abysmal 3-12 against the spread. That means they're winning just 20% of their games when they've had these long layoffs against the spread. Now, since head coach Rich Ellerson has been at Army under the same circumstances, Army is a poor 2-9 straight up, but they are a pretty mediocre 5-6 against the spread. 3 of those 5 Army wins against the spread after those long layoffs have been against Navy since Rich Ellerson has been coaching at Army. So there are 10 pretty significant reasons why you might want to consider backing Army in this 2013 Army-Navy game. So in the final analysis, who do we like? And who are we to be judging this game? Well, at collegefootballwinning.com, we are a company that was founded on making betting recommendations for college football algorithmically. In 2013, so far this season, and we're finished with the entire regular season with the exception of this Army-Navy game, our algorithmic betting recommendations have won at a rate of 67.59%. Putting that into perspective, the person who bets $110 to win $100 would be up so far this season $3,686. So that's who we are. Since we're facing bowl season right now, our lifetime against the spread bowl season average is 67.8%. Our final analysis for this game cannot be given until game day. We're not trying to be cagey in this video. We do not like to give out betting recommendations until game day for the following reasons. We get more practice reports from now Wednesday leading up to game day Saturday. We get updated injury and suspension information. And of course, we get the most accurate betting data on game day itself. So go to collegefootballwinning.com. We will have our final analysis there if you become a client with us. And if you choose to, and you'll be with us for all of our comprehensive analyses that we'll be doing for all 35 bowl games this season, put in coupon code ARMY-NAVY, all one word, ARMY-NAVY, and you'll get 10% off of any membership that we're offering for the rest of the season through all 35 bowl games. Thank you for watching this video, and if there are any cadets out there, any midshipmen, any service people out there watching this video, a sincere thank you to all that you do and all that you will do for us in this country. Go to collegefootballwinning.com, our website. We'd be happy to have you join us. Please follow us on Twitter @CFWinning, and thank you.